This is my case study for teaching students with special needs. I chose to study student AC. My name is Jennifer Ford, and this is for my teaching students with special needs class with Professor Bechtel, spring 2016. So AC is 16. She is female and a junior. She is in my U.S. history class. She is Mexican American. Spanish is spoken in the home most regularly, and AC has a specific learning disability. She experiences deficits in attention, auditory processing, visual processing, and sensory motor deficits. Now, at first, when I learned about AC, I thought, well, so she has a specific learning disability. What does that mean? I didn't really understand that that meant she could experience deficits in different areas. So with her specific learning disability, it means that she has deficits in multiple areas, but this is the way that it is categorized. So with regard to auditory processing and visual processing, both of these things mean that she has difficulty taking in information that she hears or sees. It does not mean that she has difficulty seeing or hearing, but it means that the way that she takes in information via hearing or seeing sometimes doesn't go in the way that it would for another person. On top of this, she has attention deficit disorder, but she doesn't have ADHD. She is not hyperactive in any way. She's a very mellow, calm student. If anything, it's sometimes difficult to keep her engaged because she's very mellow. She's often tired. She lays her head down. But a lot of people, when they think of ADD, they think of a hyper student, and that is not AC at all. So currently, she is working with our resource teacher on a regular basis, but for the project, I decided to focus on two SMART goals, one of which is her writing. She writes with a significant amount of scaffolds. In my class, she has to write what is called a CEL paragraph on a regular basis, and that stands for claim, which is thesis, evidence, and then link. So her paragraph follows a very standard format, and that is for all of my students. But for AC and all of my students with IEPs, they get an outline with sentence starters. And I think AC over the course of the year has learned this format and would do well and is ready to write a CEL paragraph with less scaffolding. Secondly, she's a very quiet student, like I mentioned before, almost withdrawn. It is difficult to get her to participate in any way, so I decided to focus on getting her to participate in class on a more regular basis. So the short-term plan was to get her to participate and to write with less scaffolding. My intention was to incrementally remove scaffolds and to ask for more participation. The goal by the end of the semester was for writing with only an outline and participating in class each once a class period. This was the longer goal, so I broke this down into smaller goals. The first steps that were in my short-term plan were to introduce these goals to AC. I met with her and her SPED teacher, whose name is Miss Artessa, and we went over these goals. I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable with the goals that we were putting in place and that she believed that the goals were appropriate for her. Per AC's input, she said she would be comfortable trying to participate more, but she wanted her participation to look like participation in smaller groups and with partners before she felt like she was ready to participate in a whole class. With regard to her writing, she felt like as long as it was done incrementally, she was ready to do writing with less scaffolding. So the intervention overview, I'm dividing this into participation and writing. In order to increase participation, I utilized more group and partner work in her class. This was to encourage her to participate in a less stressful environment. She's quiet, she doesn't like speaking up, but she has a lot of friends in my class or acquaintances. What it is that all of the students with IEPs are grouped in my school because it's a small school, so she has about 10 other kids with IEPs in my class. And they all sort of hang out together, and she feels comfortable speaking in front of them because she knows them. So we started off there with her speaking on a regular basis in that group. From there, we would go to her speaking in front of the class as a whole. With writing, this goal was a little bit more ambitious for AC because she really felt like she did need the scaffolding, and though she was ready to remove some of it, this was something that would need to happen over time. So we went from giving her a CEL paragraph with all of the scaffolds to a CEL paragraph with less scaffolds to a CEL paragraph with no scaffolds. So the first deadline for her participation was she started participating in class in some way 40% of the time. This would include either participating with a peer or participating with her other IEP students or participating whole class. By the second deadline, she had participated in class in some way 58% of the time. And by the third, she participated in class in some way by 70% of the time. Now, this isn't the 100% of the time that we had set as a goal originally, but 70% of the time for a quiet student like AC, I think is doing well. And I also don't think that participating in every single class is necessary to show that a student is learning. So I think getting her participation up in any way is an improvement. With regard to her second deadline, for the first CEL paragraph that she wrote, she used sentence starters and an outline, which has been the same that she's been doing all semester for me. And then the second one, she wrote a CEL paragraph with 25% fewer sentence starters. Basically, we went through the outline that she would typically get and removed a chunk of the sentence starters so that she would have to come up with a sentence on her own. And then finally, with the third paragraph, she was able to write a CEL paragraph with no sentence starters. However, with the third paragraph, it was not a typical CEL in that it was written in conjunction with a different type of assignment. So it wasn't like she was given a CEL and said, here's your CEL, and there's no sentence starters. It was more like she was given a paragraph to write, and she didn't even think to ask for sentence starters. But then we were able to go back and show her, look, this is similar to your CEL paragraph, and you were able to be successful without any structures provided. So based on the data, I am pleased with the participation increase in AC, and more so I'm pleased with the confidence that she's gained because of it. It's not as necessary for me for her to participate in every class as it is for me to see her gain confidence and see her ability to participate. With regard to her writing, she has shown herself that she can write without the scaffolds that she's grown accustomed to. Whether or not she can write a full essay without scaffolds, I think that is still something that she isn't ready to step away from. But writing an argumentative paragraph or a quick paragraph in class with no scaffolds is definitely something that she feels comfortable doing, which I think will help in growing her confidence and her writing skills. These are her work samples. The one on the left is what you see is she has sentence starters and she has an outline, and it tells her where to put her claim and where to put her evidence and her link. And that she did well on, and that's what she's used to. On the right is the paragraph that she wrote with no scaffolding, and I'm happy with her achievement here, and I feel like she's concise and clear in what she's saying. And this really, when you see it side by side, shows what she is capable of. And I used it to show her that she is capable of writing a well-constructed paragraph without the significant scaffolds she's grown accustomed to. Finally, like I said before, when I was working with AC, I really wanted to understand exactly what her deficits were, and it's the way that she thinks. It causes her to work much slower than her counterparts, and that's one of the reasons she gets such significant scaffolds, is to be able to keep her on pace. I think if she were given an unlimited number of time, she could write and she could participate in her own way. She thinks slowly because of her auditory processing and her visual processing deficits. She often gets discouraged because of this. She has trouble making sense of what she sees and hears, and she needs to be reminded to stay on task on a regular basis. I wanted to include this as anecdotal evidence because I think it gives you a clear understanding of who AC is, and I think that she struggles with self-esteem issues because of these deficits. And then finally, for my overall reflection, what I liked, I think the main success of my intervention program was involving AC and letting her make her own goals, or at least having a say in her goals. Specifically, when it came to participation, her idea of starting her off in small group participation is something that I wouldn't have thought of, and something that was a huge benefit for her. If I were to do this again, I would involve AC's other teachers as much as possible, because I think going through an intervention with more teachers than one would help make this a more cohesive program. Thank you.